nicely, okay?
Okay.
Hmm. So let us revise the fundamental unit of life. Now, the fundamental unit of life is the cell. And why is it known as fundamental? Because it is very important and it is the basic unit. Okay, now talking about the cell, cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Now, Robert Hooke in the year 1665, he discovered the cell. From what? So he discovered the cell from the cork and the onion peel. Okay. Also, yeah. Now, on the basis of the number of cells, the organisms can be of two types. The first is unicellular organism. The second is multicellular organism. This is because of the number of cells present. Unicellular, multicellular. Now, unicellular organisms are those organisms that have only one cell in their body. The example is bacteria. Whereas multicellular organisms have more than one cell in their body, such as man, cow, and all the animals and everything. So, multicellular is more than one cell, unicellular is just one cell. Now, the first living cell was discovered by Anton von Leeuwenhoek in the year 1674. Got it? Anton von
Okay.
Leeuwenhoek in the year 1674 discovered the first living cell. Now, the shape and the size of cell, it varies according to the function that the cell will perform. So if the cell performs like a lot of big functions, so the cell shape and size will be according to that. Okay, so always remember the variation in the shape and size of the cell is because of the function that it performs. Now coming on to the cell theory. Cell theory was given by two biologists that were Clyden and Swan. Now they gave 2 points. The first point given by them is that all plants and animals are made up of cells. All the plants and animals are made up of cells. Second point said that the cell is the basic unit of life. So the first point says that all organisms, whether it is plants or whether it is animals, all of them are made up of cell and cell is the basic unit of life. Then came another scientist whose name was Rudolf Virchow. He gave another point. He said that all the cells come from pre-existing cells, meaning all the cells that exist today, they are coming from the pre-existing cells. So these 3 points are the points of the cell theory. Okay?
Okay.
Any
Ma'am,
doubts up
what
till
is
now?
creation?
I can't hear you.
Ma'am, I'm asking what is creation?
What?
Now can you hear me now?
Your voice is not clear.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm asking what is creation?
What is pre-existing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, pre-existing means something which is already there. So the new cells will be formed from them. The cells that have already been there, those cells will form the new cells. Okay.
Okay.
Pre-existing means that already exists before. Like it existed before.
Okay.
Yes. Now moving forward, let us look at what are the various components of a cell. Now cell has three components. The first component is plasma membrane or cell membrane. The second component is nucleus. And the third component is cytoplasm or protoplasm. Now,
Okay.
again, we come to the difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Now, prokaryotic cells are those cells in which there has to be there is no membrane bound nucleus and no membrane bound cell organelles are there in the case of prokaryotes.
Okay.
But in the case of eukaryotes, membrane bound nucleus, membrane bound cell organelles, all of these things are present. Now, talking about the components of the cell, the plasma membrane, the nucleus, the cytoplasm, these are the components, and we'll be studying about it one by one. So, first that we will study is the plasma membrane. Now, plasma membrane is a covering of the cell, and this covering is protective in nature. So, plasma membrane is a protective covering and it protects the cell from the external environment. Okay, any harmful effects of the environment, it will be protected by the plasma membrane. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
yes, and plasma membrane, the nature of the plasma membrane is semi-permeable. Okay, the nature of the plasma membrane is semi-permeable. Here it means that it can allow some substances to come inside and it can allow some substances to go outside. So semi-permeability is there in the plasma membrane. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now moving forward, let's talk about diffusion. Now diffusion is the movement of gases, atoms, molecules from a region of higher concentration to the region of low concentration. So from high concentration, the stuff will move on to the low concentration through a semi-permeable membrane.
Okay, ma'am.
And this process is known as diffusion.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts up till now?
No, ma'am.
All right. Now, after that, we will be talking about meaning. See, how that whole thing happens is that in one place there will be a higher concentration of one stuff, and in another place there will be a higher concentration of like lower concentration of another stuff. Now, the material which is present in a higher concentration, it will move to a lower concentration, okay, wherever it is needed. Okay, and the diffusion of gases happens in this way only. Okay, now with the help of diffusion, the gases, like the gaseous exchange takes place. Okay, because at one place there will be more amount or more volume of gas, and in one another place there will be less. So the gas or the atoms will move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now moving forward, see, water would also obey the law of diffusion, but there is one thing is that the diffusion of water, or you can say the movement of water, is known as osmosis. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
yes. Now, always remember that osmosis, there is a factor which will affect osmosis, and that factor is solute concentration. Solute concentration means like in a solution, there are two components. The first one is solute, the second one is solvent. Now, the solute, if there is more solute, if there is less solute, or equal solute, all these things will affect the osmosis process. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, depending upon this, there are three types of solution. The first type of solution is a hypertonic solution. A hypertonic solution usually means that in the external environment, the the solute concentration is high, the water concentration is low. Inside the cell, the water concentration is high and the solute concentration is low. Now, because of this, the water will move from inside the cell to the outside environment. And this type of solution is known as hypertonic solution.
Okay.
Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what I said? Can you explain hypertonic solution in like normal words? You don't have to give me the definition. Just explain. Come on, explain.
Okay. Any external solution that has a uh,
The external solution will have
low solute concentration and high water
no
concentration.
low water. Anyway, always remember when the solute concentration will be high, then water concentration will be low. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Continue.
Um, compares your body fluid.
Say what happened? You people did not understand. What happened, students?
Ma'am, I understand that I'm not able to say it.
Try to explain it to me in your own words. It doesn't have to be book words. Try to explain it to me in your own words. Galvin, can you try? Explain hypertonic solution. I just explained it to you people. Mohammed Riaz, can you try to explain a hypertonic solution?
Ma'am, I'll try.
Hmm.
Ma'am, a hypertonic solution is a particular type of solution that has a greater concentration of solutes on the outside of a cell when compared
Correct.
with the inside of
Huh.
a cell.
Then, because of this, what happens? Because of this, the water from inside the cell moves outside because wherever there will be less water, water will move.
Yes.
Because here the less water is there and here more water is there. So water from the inside of the cell will move outside. This happens in the hypertonic solution. Okay. Now talking about a hypotonic solution, here what happens is that in the external environment, the solute concentration is low. But inside the cell, the solute concentration is high. Now, what did I say? If the solute concentration is high, then what will happen to the water concentration? It will be high or it will be low? will be low. So in this case, the water from the external environment will come inside the cell, and this happens, and the cell will swell up because water is coming inside. So this phenomenon takes place in a hypertonic solution. Hyper means more, hypo means less. Got it? Now coming on to the third case, that is isotonic solution. Now here the amount of salt concentration outside is equal to the amount of salt concentration inside. It is equal. So here the movement of water will be nothing because it's equal. Nowhere is like the water required. Getting my point? Hmm. So this was hypertonic, hypotonic, and isotonic. This explains the movement of water, that is osmosis. Now, who can explain all these three things or three situations to me? Hypertonic, hypotonic, and isotonic. Who can explain? Come on, tell me who can explain. You guys think I'm just coming in few minutes, okay?
Ma'am,
Hello, am I audible?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, what happened?
no, you tell me to say what's the difference between hypertonic,
Yeah.
hypertonic
I
and
went there. Now you answer?
yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
Hypertonic solution have a low concentration. Isotonic have a equal solute concentration. Hypertonic have high concentration. Uh,
Yeah, so what happens in these cases? Thing is that you people should know what happens to the movement of water in these cases. That is what it's about. Meaning, in the hypertonic, the water will move outside the cell. In hypotonic, the water will move inside the cell. And in isotonic, there will be no movement of water as such because the concentration on each side, meaning inside the cell and outside the cell, will be the same. Got it?
yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now, let us see. We studied about hypertonic, hypotonic. What is the example or what is the use? So, see, the plants they take in water or they absorb water through the soil. Also, the freshwater organism use this mechanism of water osmosis. Okay, so it is used in these two places. That is why we are studying about it. Got it? Any doubts now?
No,
Okay. Now moving forward, let us talk about what is the plasma membrane made up of. Now, the plasma membrane or the cell membrane is made up of lipid and protein. Two things, lipids and protein. Okay. Now, there is another phenomenon that we have to study, that is endocytosis. Now, what is endocytosis? Now, see, this particular thing takes place in amoeba. Now, what happens is that here, whenever there is a food particle lying outside, amoeba, with the help of its pseudopodia, takes the food inside, or this is also known as ingestion. So, endocytosis is the process of engulfing. Engulfing means taking the food inside from the external environment. Okay, and that is endocytosis. The other name for endocytosis is ingestion, and this takes place in amoeba. Got it?
yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Now moving forward, let us talk about the cell wall. Up till now we have discussed about the plasma membrane, and what is the plasma membrane made up of? Tell me.
Lipid and
And protein. Lipid and protein. Now see, the plasma membrane is very flexible, it is semi-permeable, but now when we come to the cell wall, now cell wall is rigid. It is not that flexible. It is present in plants and cell wall is absent in animals. Always remember that the cell wall of the plants is made up of cellulose, this material, okay, cellulose. Now the cell wall is made up of cellulose, okay, and cellulose provides the strength to the plants. The structural strength is provided by the cellulose to the plant cell. So cellulose is there as a protective layer, it is a rigid layer, and it provides the structural strength. Now the question is, what happens to the cell when you put it in a hypotonic solution? Tell me, the cell will, since it is in the hypotonic solution, So the outside environment has less salt concentration. In the inside of the cell, there is more. So water from the outside will move to the inside, and what will happen? The cell would swell up. But remember, it is because of the cell wall that the cell will not burst.
Sorry,
Okay.
ma'am, can you repeat it again?
Hmm. The cell wall does not burst because of the presence of, like the cell does not burst because of the presence of cell wall. So cell wall is very important for the protection. It is very important for the cell structure, the cell strength. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
And always remember, whenever we will put a cell in a hypotonic solution, then the cell will swell, it will get swollen up. And if we put the cell in a hypertonic solution, then the cell will shrink. Got it?
Yes.
Yes. Now we know that the plants have cell wall. But apart from the plants, there are two more organisms that have the cell wall, and those are bacteria and the fungi. Okay,
Okay,
bacteria
ma'am.
and fungi, they also have cell wall. So plant, bacteria and fungi, these three organisms have the cell wall present. Rest animals do not have the cell wall present. Is it clear up till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts?
No,